Today, we're going to do a pro play team fight breakdown between Fnatic and BDS, go into all the details pre-fight, during the fight, and post-fight that took what was a 5k gold deficit and turned it around into a winning situation for Fnatic. Let's get into it. Before we roll the clip, let's gather all the pre-fight information we can. BDS has Baron for about another minute, and they're going to use it to try to siege this tier 2 in a 1-4 split. 1-4 meaning they're probably going to have the guy that's either the most slippery or the best flanker mid lane, which in this case is Mbessa, while the other 4 teammates are going to be bot lane ready to push this tower. When you put Mbessa mid, he can push the mid wave himself, and he's very hard to catch, and then he can put pressure to either flank or dive the enemy backline on the tier 3 siege. Another key thing to note is that drag is in 2 minutes, so after this push, if nothing happens, BDS want to try to keep as many people alive, hopefully no one dies. They're going to put lingering vision in the enemy jungle down here. They're going to reset, walk out of base, deploy on the same side of the map, and try to take this dragon off spawn. Also, Fnatic, upset, no flash. Oscarinin flash looks like it's same timer as Syndra, and Ice has no cleanse. These are the big cooldowns to keep in mind when the fight is actually going to break out. That's everything pre-fight. Now let's get into the actual fight. We're paused right before the fight's about to break out. Fnatic is down 5,500 gold, and BDS is going to want to use the rest of this 40-second Baron to actually try to make a siege before Dragon. If we look at the item spikes, we have a lot of 3-item spikes on the side of Fnatic, and a lot of 3-item spikes on the side of BDS. So even though they're up 5,500, they're just on components for their 4th items, not up full items yet. So Fnatic sees this as their one opportunity to actually pull a fight and potentially win. So we're going to see right here, Syndra steps a little bit too close and separated from Ice, and Mickey's going to call the Leona ult down. It misses, but we need to adapt. We're pulling the fight on our terms. So Poppy is channeling her hammer, while 113 is diving onto his ear, and as the Braum ult's going to come down, we're going to see what happens. Boom, Poppy knocks the Braum away, and as this is happening, Mickey X is going to flash E onto Ice as the Pantheon ult is coming from Fountain behind Nuke. But they're not splitting their focus. Mickey X is flashing Ice with no cleanse. So what does Razork do as he lands? Immediately jumps onto Ice and tries to combo him together. This whole time, Irrelevant is actually getting marked by Upset and is too afraid to dive in on the off chance he might get shuffled into the tower by Humanoid. So they dive onto Ice and he ends up dropping instantly in the fight. And now this is where the fight gets really good. Oscarinin dives in and forces 113 to flash, and the fight is now a split front to back where you have the 1 damage person over here, you have 2 tanks here, but the flanker is off to the side. Irrelevant still hasn't even joined this fight yet. So what happens? Fight breaks out a little bit more, and look at the way Upset and Humanoid position. When Irrelevant's going to come in here, he's going to drop onto Humanoid, but Upset is not near him. He's not standing too close where he could get maybe scattered of the weak by Syndra, or maybe hit by the Mbessa ult. He's standing far enough away from Humanoid that when he lands, he gets shuffled into tower. And we're going to go back and look at the other part of this fight. Look at this. Nuke stands up to try to drop ult onto Razork's head, and as he stands up, look at Razork and Oscarinin both immediately flash onto him to combo him. This whole time the fight is split on 2 fronts, but Fnatic is playing it perfectly. Oscarinin now is going to come back, and he's going to split the defense onto BDS to make sure Upset can play. Oscarinin puts himself in between all 3 of BDS's members and basically says, if you guys want to go anywhere, you got to go through me. He grounds Mbessa on the knockup, grounds Braum trying to get to him, and stuns Braum into the wall, and 113 dies on the back end. To me, this fight came down to a lot of execution and timing by Razork and Mickey X, but Oscarinin was the key difference maker in this fight. Great pins, great responsiveness to people mispositioning, and great positioning in the fight overall. This was a fight that Fnatic needed to win to keep their dreams alive in the playoffs. And the poise that they had to call this fight on their terms when BDS is in the upper hand position, it's a really tough call to make, but this is why tracking the small things, your item spikes, summoner spells, when people are mispositioning, who are the key targets, who do we need to actually go on to make the fight winnable, was such a key distinguishing fact in this team fight from Fnatic. So what did winning that fight do for Fnatic? Well, if we look, they're still down gold, and Drag is just about to spawn. But what did it do? It gave them the ability to put down a little vision, secure a little mid push, and actually gain a little momentum into the game. Killing every member of BDS allowed them to push for the mid tier 1, put down their own vision, and now they can start playing on their own terms again. That fight on their base defense, even though they pulled the fight, their main goal was just not to get pulled on, not let BDS just siege for free, take the advantage where they could. The main difference here is now they're the ones a little bit in the upper hand. Razork pops out of the bush. Leona hits a big ult onto the backline onto Syndra. Someone gets knocked away. They end up killing 2 people off this fight, and it allows them to secure Dragon. This is why team fight mechanics and the little minor details of fights like tracking abilities and seeing when people misposition, knowing who the people to focus are such a big deal at the higher levels of play. Momentum shifts like that are what can swing games heavily. That's the breakdown of the Fnatic versus BDS Game 3 team fight that I think was one of the best team fights I've seen all year from a team. I watch a hell of a lot of pro play. I love watching highlights of games, even if I can't catch full games. And that base defense down 5,500, having the fucking nuts to pull the fight on your own terms was one of the coolest fights I've seen all year. Hope you guys enjoyed the video and the breakdown. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.